Welcome to the Live Well Zone. In this video, I want to speak about a specific type of frustration that I notice some women expressing when it comes to perimenopause. And it has to do with the frustration around the fact that they feel like nobody prepared them for perimenopause. So they feel like the doctor, their mother, their aunties, their grandmother, like nobody prepared them for what this was actually going to feel like and be like. And my perspective when it comes to that is that I actually don't think that it would have been possible for anybody to prepare us for it because there has never been a time like this before. Like the reality that we're living right now is one that has not been before. And our bodies are always going to behave in a way that reflects what we're exposed to, right? The pressures that we're exposed to, the good and the bad of what we're exposed to, our bodies will always express that. So whatever people lived through 50 years ago, 100 years ago, 500 years ago, their bodies matched that, right? And our bodies are matching that. And so my perspective is that there is no playbook for this. There's no playbook for this world with that has AI, that has the type of food that we have, that has the type of overstimulation. There's no playbook for that. There is a playbook generally for how the human body, lives under stress, but even the type of stress we have now is not the same like the type of stress we had before. So even when we say the body behaves this way under a certain way under stress, the type of stress, the degree to which we are stressed has also changed, and the body is matching that. So even though it is frustrating, right, where it feels like people with because I've seen some conversations where some people were like, well, maybe nobody talked about this because from a generational perspective, women didn't always share certain things. You kept things to yourself. And that there might be some truth to that. There might be some people for whom like we just don't talk about certain things when it comes to the body because it's not polite conversation. I think there could also potentially be even a cultural element to this. I think depending on what culture we're also talking about, some cultures will be more open about it. So I think there's a little bit of that potentially playing into it. But purely my perspective is that actually we've just never had this time before. So we're living it out in real time. And if we think about it, for example, like again, what's changed? So the food that we're eating now is not the same type of food that our mothers or certainly our grandmothers would have been eating, right? In terms of the quality of the food, there is a lot more of it that's processed these days compared to before, and whatever whole food we do have tends to be full of chemicals and then also pesticides specifically, and then also at the same time typically nutrient deficient, right? So you're starting at a deficit right there, which was going to be less of a problem if we're talking about, let's say, our grandmothers. And then if same thing, like even when it comes to like the quality of water, for example. And then if we think about our lifestyles, what we do these days is a lot more sedentary. Some people still have lifestyles that move and jobs that require them to be on their feet, but most of our work and most of our living has just moved to being more sedentary, right? And so that again, very, very different if we're talking about, most of our mothers and certainly grandmothers, right? There was a lot more movement just to live life, right? For previous generations. And then also if we even think about from social networks, right? Before, now we are all about social media, we're on devices, we're less in person. Before that was flipped. And all of that really, really matters and makes such a difference for our well-being because we need connection. And while it's wonderful that modern life has given us the ability, where we can communicate and connect no matter where we are, that's wonderful. I can talk to you right now, wherever you may be. That's great. But things have really gone to an extreme where we almost have relied on that too much and use that, as a way sometimes to sort of create a bubble for ourselves. And we're paying a price for that because we're human beings. We're not meant to live as islands. We're really not, right? We feed off of each other for better and for worse, but we do. So that also is going to make a huge difference in terms of how we feel. Like we were not, we were not meant to be on this planet just isolated like the way it is. And so isolated, whether it's from friends, from families, even, we move a lot more. I certainly moved, right? Like I am not living in my birth country, right, of Cameroon. I moved to another country and so many of my friends, and we all do that for practical reasons, but I don't think we quite realize the impact that that can have as you go through important phases of life, and then realizing that your, sort of the network you would just naturally lean on isn't there, and that maybe now you give birth, and instead of having your aunts and your grandmother and mother and everybody there to help you when the baby comes, which is something that would have happened in the past. Now, typically, you're dealing with it yourself. You're trying to figure out how you get back to work in 3 months. So things have changed quite a bit. So my perspective now is that while this can seem like it's unfair, I'm not going to get into whether this is some sort of intentional thing set up by the system, but I will say that this is the reality that we're in. And so we just have to figure out a way to turn it around. And we can turn it around, but it's not going to happen accidentally. Absolutely not. And it's not going to happen exclusively by looking for solutions outside of us. Outside help is necessary. And so I'm talking about, we certainly need medical treatments when they're relevant. We need maybe some supplements and things when relevant. But the full answer won't always come from there. For some people, that will do the trick. But for others, maybe not. And so if you're one of the others for whom where you're like, yeah, well, I've already tried some of the other things, not working, you want to think about really the three fundamentals, right, that it takes for a body to just thrive no matter what is going on around them, right? So you always want to prioritize nourishing your body, moving your body, replenishing your body. So nourishing in terms of whole foods, herbs, clean water, things like that. Moving your body. Now we're just talking about physical movement, exercise in whatever shape or form that will take. And exercise also here really to understand that our bodies were just doing it not so much just so that we want to lose weight, right? Or look a certain way physically. I mean, nothing wrong with that. Like I am the first person to say, take good care of yourself, present yourself well. So I'm not knocking that, but there also has to be another layer where we really understand that we're doing this because it's also almost like a form of health insurance for us. Like exercising today is not just so we look good in the dress today. It's so that maybe 10 years from now, 20 years from now, it will pay off, right? Because that is what health is about. It's about the consistency of very basic things. And the consistency of those habits over time keeps us healthy longer. And then the third thing, which is replenishing your body. So this is really talking about replenishing yourself more at the energetic level, right? So more spiritually. And when I say spiritually, I don't mean religion exclusively. So when I say spiritually, I'm talking about replenishing energetically as far as the energy that is universal and common to all of us, regardless of who or who we are and where we're located. So the energy that beats your heart, right? The energy that is able to create a baby, right? The energy that allows your eyes to blink. All of that, the energy that regulates your hair without you having to go in there and actually give instructions. Like there is a universal energy that powers the human body, that keeps it going, no matter the color of the skin, the political party, the religion, the whatever, right? And when we do practices, things like meditation, mindfulness practices, that is when we start to now connect with that and also allow it to replenish us, to fill our cup. but it does not happen accidentally. It is 100% intentional. It is the reason, it is so intentional. It's the reason why some people choose to go be monks and live in temples and give up everything, because that is also how important and how powerful that connection can be, that some people will make that decision. Now, I don't think that we need to do that. I think that I'm grateful that those monks and people who devote their life to that are in this world. They help to keep, I think, the energy and the vibration of the planet at a certain level. They teach us a lot that we can bring into our regular lives. But what they do show us is also the power of that intentionality as far as cultivating that connection. Okay. And when I talk about the replenishing, it doesn't have to be only around sitting down with your eyes closed, cross-legged. It's not just that. It could be also taking a walk in nature, but being present during that walk. It could be dancing and be present with that. It could be having, sharing a laugh with friends. It could be the social connection, which is so, so important. So again, if you're somebody who goes to church, maybe that's your social connection. If you've got a women's group, whether you get together to knit, or you get together to talk about books, but that piece is so, so crucial. It's part of what this is I think why in many ways social media has taken off, because we innately want to connect, but anonymous connection is not enough in that way, right? Avatars talking to each other with emojis and LOLs is just, it'll do the trick in the bind, but we also have to be intentional about, finding other ways of doing that in real life as much as we can. All right. So nourish your body, move your body, replenish. Those are the three things. And those, you master those, as plain and boring and unsexy as they sound. That's how you make it through this experience that mom and grandma and auntie did not prepare you for. This is how you make it through it. It's still by just mastering the essentials, like your life depends on it, just going all in on it, right? And tuning out the noise that tells you that this is happening to you simply because you are in perimenopause, simply because this is what happens to the body as hormones shift. No way. Your body reflects the environment. Always. It's not exclusively just biology. Biology and the environment dance, but everything will speak through your body 100% of the time. But you can change that by focusing on those three basics. Okay. So I just wanted to share this for anybody who, like I said at the top of the video, might be walking around feeling frustrated and feeling like nobody's prepared them for this. You are right, nobody's prepared you, but you do have the ability. You already know everything. That, like, you don't have to go to another planet to learn some new thing. Like, all the basics of what you need, you already know, and it's just a matter of implementing them steadily and consistently. And I'm not saying it's easy, but I am saying the framework is simple. But I understand that it's not easy nonetheless. And if you feel frustrated, you certainly have the right to feel frustrated. Okay, so we're not undermining what you feel, but we do want to acknowledge that there are actually answers and solutions for you. Okay, so if any of this resonates with you, I want to invite you to come join me in my membership, the Beyond Estrogen Collective. This is a space where I just am creating a lighthearted, no pressure environment where you can work on these three things at a pace that works for you. Because we're not trying to rush here, because we want to have a long, healthy life. But you do have to get started, putting one foot in front of the other. And that is the space that I'm building, is for that person who is serious about implementing this for themselves and really starting to reconnect with the power that the body has to recalibrate. Because the thing with the body is, like, if it can calibrate to chaos, it can also calibrate to the opposite of that. You can also create an environment that is the opposite of the chaos, and the body will shift. Always does, right? So it's wonderful in that way once we learn to work with it. So If this resonates with you, come join me in the community. We are a small, but growing and devoted group, and you get all the tools and resources that you need to flourish through this phase. All right. So thank you for watching. If you found this helpful, I'd love it if you gave the video a thumbs up. Please share with anybody else that could benefit from this information, and I will see you next time. Take care. Bye bye.